day in Jamestown, but particularly today, the sun is shining, the weather is absolutely perfect, and we're opening up another segment of the Greater Jamestown Riverwalk. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Sam Teresi. I am the proud mayor of New York's great Pearl City of Jamestown, and I'd like to first start off today by thanking everybody that has been working so hard trying to put today's event together and working so hard even before this, preparing this beautiful segment of the Riverwalk, and particularly the long-awaited opening of the two new pedestrian bridges. I'd like to introduce, first of all, to my right, Billy Stevenson. Give Billy Stevenson a round of applause. Billy has been working very, very hard over the past few years, making his pitch to share the title of Mr. Jamestown with Russ Dietrich and Dennis Webster. And he's making very good progress at it, because this is one of these wonderful, unique community treasures that we have that are always there, that the word no is not in his vocabulary. He loves this community. Jamestown surges through all of his veins, and anytime you need anybody to step up and organize an event like this, Billy Stevenson is the go-to guy. And Billy is also here in his official capacity today as the chair of the City of Jamestown's Riverfront Management Council. Again, he deserves a second round of applause, Billy Stevenson. We're going to try to keep the opening remarks here, on my part at least, very brief, but we do have a lot of acknowledgments that we'd like to make before I turn it over to the Senator and the Commissioner for their remarks, and then the big event, where we're hoping to get a community walk going on here, a slow walk with the Senator and me and the Commissioner after we cut the ribbon, following us over 3 of the 7 bridges that we are celebrating here today in the heart of Jamestown. I'd like to just open up with one of my favorite quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson that I think really, really speaks to what we have been trying to do here in Jamestown on so many fronts, this being one, of course. Do not go where the path may lead. Instead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. We've been doing that on so many fronts in this community, whether it's on the financial restructuring front, the sharing of services front, where our community in Chautauqua County are viewed across the state as a trailblazer and a leader in that capacity. We can certainly all see before our own eyes trails that we've been blazing in the downtown area. Matt Hanley, my assistant, Matt over here, give Matt a round of applause too. I never recognized Matt enough in public. He and I totally ignore him in private, but in public I gotta look at him every now and then. But Matt and Leanne Jordan really run the city of Jamestown, along with the great department heads we have and the 450 staff members. But Matt's been walking around handing out. They're all out. What we're going to do is we're going to direct you to the Jamestown City Government website, jamestowny.net, where you'll be able to get a copy of the handout if you don't have it, as well as my Facebook page, Mayor Teresi, and you can pick that up. But there is a piece in the handout that talks about $232 million and counting of public, private, and not-for-profit philanthropic development investment in the city's central business district alone in recent years. And as my late father used to say, it's not just about what you do, but how you do it. And the how in this case is even more important than the what and the why. The how that we've been doing it here in Jamestown is everybody pulling together whether we're Democrats or Republicans or whatever our ethnic background is and our religious beliefs, we pull together as Jamestowners and figure out ways to get things done that a small city of 35,000 people in the heart of a region of 70,000 can't even dream about getting done. And it's about the government at different levels, the local government, the state government, the help that we receive at the federal level, the private sector coming together and obviously anteing up big time with their private investment and taking the risk that they are built to do, and they do so well in this community. But there's another piece that's been introduced into play here over the past 10 to 15 years, and that's our riches that we have in this community in the form of philanthropic organizations. Whether it be private, small little service clubs in the community, all the way up to our largest philanthropic foundations. They've really stepped up to the plate and said economic development, and particularly saving the core of the city, is a priority. And putting their money where their mouth is. And on the chart that we've left you, I can tell you in every one of those instances, we have been clicking on all cylinders. Local government, state government, we couldn't be anywhere near where we're at today, particularly with this project, but on everything that's been happening without the state of New York. We all like to at times carp about the state, about this or that or the other thing, but let me tell you something. There's more that's good and right about the Empire State than what could possibly ever be wrong, and they are there for us now. They've been for us in the past, and no pressure, Commissioner and Senator, I know they'll be there for us in the future. Let's give a round of applause to our partners at all levels. I'm going to apologize right here, right now, because in a large dispersed crowd like this, where people are not grouped together, I am going to miss somebody. Being an MC of a dedication event like this is the worst task that you can give to anybody, particularly somebody who's got to stand for election once every 4 years, because you wind up ticking off somebody in the process. But I know that there's several members of our city council right here. Could I please ask you all to raise your hands, members? Keep them raised so that I can see you. Just going through the crowd here, I see First Ward Councilman, and hold your applause for all of them till the end, or maybe even till election near next year. But this is not constituting an endorsement of anybody, just an acknowledgement. Brett Sheldon, First Ward Councilwoman, Kim Eklund, Councilwoman at Large, Andy Liuzzo, Councilman at Large. Who else is here? Am I missing anybody? Okay, Kim, you can put your arm down now. I have to tell you, and I've said this all around the state, and I say it publicly here all the time, in my 18.5 years as mayor, I have been blessed with wonderful people on the Jamestown City Council. We all may get elected as Democrats and Republicans, but the minute that the election results are in, and we get in that room working together, people have difference of opinions, sometimes we disagree on things, we even argue on things once in a while, but everybody in the executive and the legislative branch here in the city of Jamestown become and work as Jamestowners, not as Democrats and Republicans. And I pray to see the day at all levels of government that these folks around the country can follow the Jamestown model. I'm very fortunate to have wonderful people on the Jamestown City Council, because the things that we're doing here and have been doing here and will be doing here in the future couldn't be possible without our citizen, largely volunteer legislators. We have several members of city boards and commissions here. We have members from the city's Parks Commission, Riverfront Management Council, Board of Public Utilities. Who else is here today? Jamestown Local Development Corporation, Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency. If you're a member of a city board and commission, please raise your hand and be recognized. And let's give them all a round of applause. As I said before, we're opening up 2 bridges today, but we're celebrating 7 bridges that are in a short walking distance right here in the heart of the city. And let's see if I can call them out by memory. The first one is the Sprague Street Bridge. If you follow Steel Street on the other side of the river, the other side of our Board of Public Utilities complex, Steel Street goes along, hits Sprague Street. There's a bridge that takes you into downtown Jamestown that crosses the Chattacoin River. Commissioner, we have to, per capita and by water amount, have more bridges than anybody in the world. And while I'm at it, let me thank Chautauqua County government. Where's George Spanos here? George, our Director of Public Facilities. Our County Executive, George Borello, sends his regrets. Other business took him away today, but we have members of the county legislature here with us today. Elizabeth Rankin is back there. I think that Paul Whitford is either in the crowd or already or on his way. Haven't seen Dave Wilfong and haven't seen Chuck Nazaro, but give them all a round of applause. And George Spanos is here representing our county executive, George Borello. George, am I allowed to say it publicly? George is retiring. Let's do an Small guy, his wife Marianne, yay! Who actually, Marianne is also a high-ranking county official, our senior citizens advocate and director. Let's give Marianne Spanos a round of applause. I'm not going to introduce your family that's with you, but George does a terrific job, and he is going to be sorely missed here in the city of Jamestown. The county has been a tremendous partner with us, not only on the riverfront development, doing things, helping us behind the scenes in some cases, and out there in the front with crane work and other type of things, but my Director of Public Works, Jeff Lehman, has a terrific working relationship with George and his wonderful crew. And George, we're going to miss you. George will be doing extra time at the Yasu Festival now that he doesn't have these duties. You're not going to run out of rice pudding next year, right, at the Yasu Festival, or baklava as you did this year. Just calling you out in public for what it is, George. But George does a great job, and we're appreciative. We're going to miss him, and whoever comes into that role is going to have huge, huge shoes to fill. Jeff, I got a question for you. Jeff Lehman, our Director of Public Works. Give him a round of applause, too. Jeff, are these bridges over 20 feet in length?
Pretty sure, George.
Let's give a round of applause to the County of Chautauqua that has the legal responsibility now to maintain these bridges. And while we're at it, we have a former county executive here with us today, and Mark Thomas. And I want to thank Mark Thomas for a couple of things. Mark Thomas was the county executive back in the early 2000s that made the agreement with the city of Jamestown and all of the municipalities around the county to take over primary responsibility for maintenance of all bridges over 20 feet in length. Thank you, Mark, for setting the groundwork to take over the maintenance of these bridges going forward. Mark is a very good friend, dating back to the time before he was county executive. He did an outstanding job for 8 years as our county executive. Mark's fingerprints are all over great things in this county. And furthermore, then went to the state government and served as our Western Region District Director of the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. And I have to tell you a quick little Mark Thomas story here. Back when we were conceiving the notion of this Riverwalk dream here in Jamestown, Mark was county executive. And he and I went out to lunch one day. I think we were at the Old Town Club at the time. And Mark's actual training, education and training, is in parks design and administration, and University of Illinois, right? And said, are we nuts? I mean, we've got a river that even with my rag arm, I can still throw a baseball over. Are we crazy of embarking on this? And he said, absolutely not. He said, it is one of the most important things that you can do from not only a public health standpoint, a transportation standpoint, a recreation standpoint and an environmental standpoint, but this is economic development. Economic development. Because you're improving the quality of life in the community. And most businesses today are making locational decisions as to where they want to invest and retain employment and open up new operations based upon the fact of where the decision makers in those companies want to be themselves. And if the place isn't worth living in, you're not going to be able to attract businesses. And the other factor that they're looking at is to where they think they can, the river's not on fire as it was in Cleveland back in the 1970s, I'm quite sure, but where they think they can attract high quality people. Go for it, Mayor, go for it. And we did, with our council, our Parks Commission, the foundations, and so forth. And I held Mark to that when he became Regional District Director. And Mark in the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation have been a partner, maybe not on this particular project, but you will see their signs and fingerprints all over the rest of the river walk throughout the city. So Mark Thomas, thank you for being here today. And let's give my good friend Mark a round of applause. We have Kathy Young here with us today. Kathy is by far, my favorite 57th District Senate member in New York State.
Thank you.
And also one of my favorite people, period, and a great public servant. But I got to tell you a story. I told Kathy I wasn't going to tease her today when I came here. Not too badly. But have you ever noticed that when you open up the Post-Journal, Kathy's picture, regardless of what's happening, is in there a minimum of 4 times every day. Every day, 4 pictures of Kathy Young in the paper. All color, all on the front page. It's amazing, it's amazing. She's everywhere. And the thing that's most amazing about it is you'll find out when you look at the cut lines of the photograph, 3 out of the 4 are at the same time in different places all over the broadly ranging 57th Senate District. How does she do it? How does she do it? Well, I finally came to the conclusion there are 3 other cloned Kathys out there. And right now, I think we've got the real one here with us today. But there's 3 other cloned Senator Youngs. There's one ready to start a ukulele concert up at the Great Blue Heron Festival in Sherman. There's another one at a fireman's chicken barbecue down in Bolivar, and a pancake breakfast over in Wellsville. But Kathy, the real Kathy, is with us today, and she has been a real champion of everything that we're trying to do here in the city and have done. And it's good to know that we've got somebody that loves us here in Jamestown and that has juice in Albany, and it's my pleasure to bring to the podium today our Senator in the 57th District, Senator Kathy Young.
Thank you and good morning. Yes, it's the real me here today. And first of all, Jamestown is on a roll. Don't you agree? Don't you agree with that? I mean, look at this beautiful park, look at the Comedy Center, look at all the great things going on. And I want to thank the mayor for that introduction. And you know, I walked in today, I went over and shook his hand, gave him a kiss on his cheek, and he said to me, you know what? I'm not going to tease you today. And I was shocked. I was shocked because, as you know, the mayor is known for telling a story or two, some, you know, oftentimes humorous, but I was thinking sometimes humorous, but I remember quite a few years ago now, we were at some big event here in Jamestown, and the mayor was doing this build-up. He was introducing me. He was telling this really, really, really long joke, a really long story. And I knew he was going on too long when I turned to my left, and there's the governor sitting there looking at his watch, waiting for the mayor to conclude. Do you remember that, Sam? Oh, yes. I think the governor still tells him about that every time he sees him. But you know what, Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership, for all you continue to do for the city of Jamestown. The council members are phenomenal also, and everyone is working as a team to get the job done, and we see the positive results. You know, I want to thank the Commissioner Karras, for coming today also. He travels around all over the state. The last time I ran into him was at Letchworth State Park. Anybody ever go to Letchworth State Park? I can tell, a lot of outdoors people here today. And so you know the railroad bridge over the gorge, right? Near the waterfalls, near the Glen Iris Inn. And we were there to dedicate the brand new bridge. And everyone there had a story about the old bridge. The old bridge was built in the 1800s, iconic, and actually a lot of people over the years have illegally been on that bridge. So I got to tell the story about the time my brother, when he was little, and my grandfather were up on the bridge. And my brother still says to this day, when that train started to come, I never saw Grandpa run so fast. So it's great to have you here, Commissioner, and thank you so much for all that you do for the traveling public in New York State, and we look forward to your remarks. But I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, to see this many people here on a Saturday morning on such a beautiful day really speaks volumes about this project and how far we have come. This is a revitalization effort that is reaping so many rewards for not only the people in Jamestown, but the people of Western New York and everybody who is going to come visit this site, I believe, from all over the country and all over the world. And that's really what we have going here. World-class, #1, with the National Comedy Center, with this beautiful park. We are going to attract people from all over. And we are constantly focused on improving people's quality of life right here in Western New York. And this is emblematic of that. And so I am so thrilled that we were able to support this project. The state actually invested $1.6 million into it, into these bridges. And this is a very, very exciting day. And I have to tell you, I love the symbolism of bridges. Think about it, the symbolism of bridges. They are connectors. They provide connections between points. And that's really what we're doing here now. Not only with the Comedy Center, where we're able to save the historic train station and totally remodel that and add on to it. That's a connection to our past. But the National Comedy Center is a connection to our future and all the great things that are going to happen here for our economy, again, for our quality of life. But these bridges also are connections, I believe, for people, for families to come here and to be able to enjoy this beautiful park and to be able to have the opportunity to have all kinds of wonderful things happen. You know, I think this would be a perfect spot, for example, for someone to propose to somebody for marriage. I mean, there's so many things that are going to happen here because we have transformed this area into something that is spectacular. So I just want to say thank you. I know that the mayor went through it, and through it, and through it, and through it, about all the different people who worked on this project. But you know what? He should have done that, because I know this has really been a community effort, a team effort. And I just want to say to each and every one of you who made this happen, you make us so proud here in Jamestown. I get to brag about you all across the state, and I could not be more proud of all the things that we accomplished right here in this community, and it's because of people like you. So thank you so much for all that you do. This is a phenomenal day. Congratulations, and we are going to continue to enjoy this park, and so many people from across the country and the world will too, and it's because of you. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Actually, characteristically, the senator was way too nice to me. That true story about the governor, actually, he wasn't checking his watch, which he's not here, so I can say this, Commissioner, don't tell him I said this. Lori Cornell's not here, so I think I'm safe. He wasn't checking his watch. He had passed out by that time. His staff was trying to revive him at that point. I kept talking, but he eventually was okay. But your idea about proposing down here is nice on the bridges, but been there, done that, and my wife Becky of 34 years is here, and my son Joe. They put up with a lot. Now, before I bring the commissioner up and we go snip the ribbon and we all take a walk together, there's a couple of other acknowledgments I want to make. There's a couple of guys that are here that I've noticed. I referenced Russ Dietrich. Russ, are you still back there, Mr. Jamestown? Russ was our legendary Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Director for years. Russ oversaw the building of the first little micro stage of the Riverwalk back in the 1970s, and then 30 years later we got back to it, and we've built from downtown Jamestown all the way up to Celeron Park in Lakewood, and have rebranded it the Greater Jamestown Riverwalk. So Russ was the guy that got it all going back in the 70s, and also his boss I saw a little bit earlier. Stan Lundeen, are you here still? Where's Stan Lundeen? Stan, raise your hand back there. Our former mayor, congressman, great lieutenant governor for 8 years under Governor Mario Cuomo. And in my book, pound for pound, inch for inch, one of the best mayors that this city has ever had, along with Sam Carlson, who has his name on the power plant, the father of municipal power here in Jamestown and also in the country. Probably one of the greatest mayors we ever had, along with my good friend and mentor, the late Mayor Stephen B. Carlson, who would just be thrilled to be here today because he had a vision and he directed Russ back in the day to get that first little micro-link built over near the JAMA building in Brooklyn Square. So this is a great day for the whole community. But one last thing that I must do right now. The people that I work with that do the work for this city every single day, that have to put up with me on the few occasions where I do manage to look good, are the ones that make me look good. I'd like to make sure all of our department heads aren't just noted in the crowd. I want you coming up here. John, Marilyn, Jeff, Vince, Matt, come on up. Frank Galeazzo from the BPU representing Dave Leathers, who couldn't be here today. Any other department heads? Let me introduce them to you. Matt Hanley, my executive assistant. Frank Galeazzo, our IT director at the Board of Public Utilities. John Williams, our parks manager and director. He's the guy that not only has to build, but he's got to maintain all this stuff with 15 full-time year-round workers, salaried workers, and about 20 summer college employees maintaining a 550-acre park system with a crazy mayor adding more and more to the workload list every day. Vince DeJoy, our director of development, he and his team put together the Transportation Alternatives Program application to the state DOT. Marilyn Fiore-Lehman, our corporation counsel, Jeff Lehman, our director of public works. Marilyn's got 3 difficult jobs. Number 1, our corporation counsel and making sure everything is done right and we're not getting sued, and if we are sued, great. She's our director of human resources, and the most difficult job she has is being Jeff's wife all day. So with that, the main event. A young man that I met at the State of the State address out in Albany earlier this year, and we had a chance to share a table in the reception afterwards with each other and get to know each other a little bit. And the way this all evolved is he made a couple of passing references to Jamestown and the Chautauqua Lake region. Number 1, he disclosed to me that he was a stamp enthusiast growing up as a kid, and knew that one of the powerhouses in the collectible stamp business was a company called Jamestown Stamp Company, and he'd wait at his mailbox with bated breath every day, waiting for an envelope to come with a Jamestown, New York post stamp on it. Second reference is he has a wife. And his wife had heard about Chautauqua Institution and always wanted, she's an arts enthusiast, a music enthusiast,